Hey everybody, I would like to thank you for tuning in to the live YouTube. Although when you're seeing this, it probably will not be live because I'm very aware that I have un poquito subscribers at this time. I had a larger channel that I haven't been on in about a year, and during that year I lost the sign-in stuff, and I'm not sure what happened with that. But it's gone. It's gone. It's somewhere, but it ain't in my possession. So I just relaunched, and the reason I relaunched is because I think it's good in life to press reset on stuff sometimes. Forgive the steering wheel here. I'm in the trusty dusty Jeep Patriot. So coming to you live from the studios here at the Jeep Patriot. It's Elijah Tyndall. So I wanted to get on here and talk about the things that screw you up and screw me up. There's life's full of them, right? But I wanted to be very specific, as a lot of you guys know. But you may not on this, because I'm going to kind of promote this on other platforms. But I wrote a book this last year, came out in August. It's called The New You versus the Screw You, and in that book I identify things that will screw us up, and really it all boils down to mindset. It's the way that we think, because I found that the way that we think is the way that dictates and determines the way that we respond, the way that we act, the way that we do things in life. It's the way that we think. And so if we're in a season where our mind is just inundated with stressful situations, or with negative information, or with what will happen is we'll begin to absorb that, and it'll go down into our heart. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. But before it gets down to the heart, it gets in here. It's the way that we think. It's introduced into our eyes, and the eyes are the windows to the soul. The soul is the mind. It starts to get playing with the way that we think. Then we get anxious. Then we get jittery. Then we get nervous. Then we get fearful. Then we get resentful. We get bitter. All this stuff, and then that stuff starts seeping down into the heart. And from the abundance of the heart, then your mouth starts speaking it. The problem with that is not only when your mouth starts speaking it, do other people hear, because it affects the environment, it affects relationships around and people around, but then it ends up affecting you. Why? Because faith, it comes by hearing. So the more things that you hear, once again, the more things you have faith in. And so now you are hearing yourself speak things that are fearful, that are bitter, that are contentious, that are nervous, that are anxiety ridden, that are hurtful, that you're hearing your own self speak those things. You're not just, because why? The abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and when the mouth speaks, it really reinforces what the heart is already absorbing and believing, and then the mindset continues to go in that cycle. It feeds your mindset. Goes down, windows of the soul are the eyes, and so what you take in is what you think about. What you think about is what you absorb in your heart, and what you absorb in your heart is what you speak out. Then when you speak it out, guess what? It goes right back into the thinking mode, and then it creates this cycle that's almost impossible for us to break unless we purposely do something that will change the things that we see or we take in, the mindset. We have to adjust the mindset. As many of you know, I come from a Christian, a Christian background and belief system. I know a lot of my followers, they don't subscribe to the Christian belief system. No matter what belief system you subscribe to, this is a spiritual principle. It's more of a spiritual law. There's laws that can't be changed. You know what I'm saying? And so, like the law of gravity. No matter if you believe in it or not, it's active. It works. And this is something that works. It's a spiritual law, and the spiritual law is this, that and it's stated by a guy named Paul, and it says this. It says don't be conform to the rest of this world. That means you don't have to, and not only do you not have to, you shouldn't try to make yourself like everybody else in the world, because there's only one you. And we subscribe to the belief system that we were all created and designed specifically individually. And so even if you don't believe in God, you believe that there's things about you that are probably the other people don't have that on the inside of them. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to strive to be like other people all the time. It's good to take qualities from other people and say, oh, that's the kind of person I wish I was. And we strive to act as if, and we behave our way to the top in areas. But we can't always try to be like other people, because that will never succeed at that. Even if we are successful, we spend our whole life trying to become this other person. What happens is that at the end of the life, there's no reason for our existence. Why? Because they already existed. They already, if this whole thing were like a big puzzle, what would happen is, let's say there's 7 billion people right now, 7 billion plus people on the face of this earth. If every one of us were a puzzle, and this whole thing all together is a puzzle, and there's 7 billion pieces of this puzzle. We are one of those pieces, and it's important that we stay in our place. Because if we see this piece over here, and we're supposed to be over here, we see this piece, we're like, oh man, I wish I was like that piece. That piece has all the cool colors on it. That piece has it's the cool shape. I'm over here all wonky like that. And we want to be like that. The problem with that is we will spend our lives carving out the shape and trying to readjust what we look like and what we act like and our fitting, and then we get all the way over there and there's already a piece that goes there. Why? Because we're conforming ourselves to something else in this world. So this guy Paul, he says, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's really where we want to start this whole thing about this version of us that screws everything up. It starts with changing the way that we think, changing the mindset of the way that we think. So don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So what he says is so we can prove out what is the good and acceptable and perfect plan that God has for our life. We want to find what is the perfect thing for our life while we're here. We're only going to be here so long. I know I've been on my deathbed. I've had to face, quadruple bypass surgery. I've got a big gnarly scar right here, but the steering wheel is censoring that because this is a PG YouTube station. But we don't want to get to the end of our lives because it's short, and realize that we didn't become who it was we were supposed to become. And I think we all have to face some of those things in our life that we look at ourselves and say, I wasn't the person that I needed to be in that situation or in this thing, or I hurt someone there, and I did, we can all look at some moments of our life and it's like, but then there's other moments where like I wish I was more like that all the time. Why can't I be consistent in that? That's the person, that's the good and acceptable and perfect plan for our life. The only way, according to what he's saying here, the only way to do that is to not conform ourselves to everybody else, but to be transformed by the way that we think. Transform means changing from one version of something and transforming into it, changing to another thing, another version, an entire. You've seen the movie Transformers. It's exactly that. It's more than me. When I was a kid, it had a little theme song. Transformers, more than meets the eye, and it was so cool because on the inside of this little Hot Wheels little car, you could start adjusting this thing, and as you adjusted it, what was a fender once now, boom, is on the side, and it's a arm of a warrior robot. There was more on the inside that you could see from the outside, and that's what I believe we are all like. We are designed with more on the inside than we show on the outside. And so what we have to do in order to bring those things to transformation is change the way that we think. So how do we change the way that we think? We change the way that we think by taking in new information. I don't like it when people are not open to new information. They're not open. They're only open to what they've experienced before, what they've heard before, because that keeps us where we are, and we conform. We get to that point, we plateau, we conform. So it's always good to take in new information, even if it's false information. A funny thing about people who study counterfeits. People who study counterfeits, they say, study the real thing more than they do counterfeits. So that way they know the real thing the most, and then when a counterfeit comes along, it doesn't line up with what the real thing is. So as long as we're taking in information and we're connecting ourselves to the real thing, in my life, the real thing is my God. The real thing is my belief system. The real thing is my family. The real thing. So if I expose myself to that, then the new information is going to come along and replace that. But it's going to add additional things that I didn't think before. And so, and a lot of these things might be additional things that are true. And I can't close myself off to the things that are true, that are real, because I'm over here, no, that's not, I've never heard that before. Well, guess what? We're going to die, and when we get to heaven, or whatever the situation is for us, we're going to realize a lot more than we knew. Now, who do we think we are, that we know everything? We don't know everything. So that screws us up. We conform to this world, but we have to transform by the renewing of our mind. So this is part one. Part one is letting us know that we need a transformation. So if you're with me today and you'd say, yeah, man, I got some stuff screwing myself up. It's the reason I call it the new you versus the screw you is because this verse that he says in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, he says, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so you can prove out what is the good and acceptable and perfect plan for God. That's the new us. That's the new you. But then there's this other version of you. And that version screws everything up. You know exactly the version I'm talking about. It's like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. I must do it. No, don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just this battle on the inside for the new you versus the screw you. And that screw you is stronger than that new you. I can tell you that right now, boy. He's gonna come out swinging. He's gonna come out fighting. Why? Because he likes to be in control. She likes to be in control. They like to overcome the new you, because the new you is still this infant form of you, and this one has been alive for a long time. It's been dominating for a long time, and so what we have to do is we have to grow and strengthen this new you so we don't screw everything up constantly in our lives, because that's already had too many experiences that it has ruined for us, this screw you mentality. So the first step in all this is accepting that we need to change, accepting that we are not where we need to be, but this screw you version of you is continuing to mess things up. And now, since we know that, we can go on to part two. Really, the first step is acknowledging, but the next thing to apply is going to be on the next episode, and it's going to start helping us to renew our minds. I found 5 major mindset limitations, mindsets that will hold us back, and I'm going to share those with you. It's all in my book, but you don't have to buy the book in order to get this, because I believe I was put on this earth for this season, so that way I can share it with you. So I want to gladly share what I've received for free, and it has not been for free. I've paid great prices to retain this in my own personal life, and I'm not where I need to be yet, but I'm on my journey, and we're going to get through this journey together. So anyway, I encourage you, subscribe to this. I need more subscribers because I only have like 30 people on this thing right now, because I'm starting over, and that's okay. I'm all about press and reset and starting over. So this is a reset. If you will, subscribe to this, share it, and we'll go forward from here. All right, rock on. Love you guys. See you. Bye.